6 o'clock, May 29th, 2014. Time to get this budget workshop special called meeting of the San Felipe del Rio CISD Board of Trustees underway. Looks like everyone is here. Mr. Chavita is on his way. So we do have a quorum, correct, Mr. Overfield?
Yes, sir.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present, that this meeting's been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, if you'd stand for opening ceremonies. First, a moment of silence. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seated. That brings us to agenda item 3A, recognitions. We have recognition of the 2014 5A state champion for spelling and vocabulary, Edmundo Ramon.
Something brief about the competitions he went to and where he won and how he advanced, just so everyone gets an appreciation. So many times we recognize individuals for doing great things, but this is something great and then more great. So why don't you tell us the competitions that he went to and how he did?
He was first or second in every one that we went to this year. We started out in December. Looking at Terry for advice back there.
Madison.
Yeah, and he was first place. Which were the ones that you got second? And even then he was like scored a 97. Reagan?
Reagan and McCollum.
McCollum, okay. Yes, but
pre-district and district is first.
District first place. And I mean, he's been working since 3rd grade to get to this point, really. He really has. He's just dedicated, goes above and beyond, carried the team, because our team got second at regionals, and that was something else he wanted too, so motivated them, and I can't say enough good things about him. I'm gonna miss him a lot.
And her spelling team also got almost first place team every meet also.
Well, like I said, it's real good when our kids advance to regionals. It's great when our kids advance to state. We do have so many kids that advance to state, but to actually go to state and win it, well, that doesn't happen very often. And it's just that one blessed, gifted individual that makes us all better. And that's why we're recognizing you today, sir. So congratulations. University of Texas. Congratulations, sir. We can have a picture with mom and grandma and your coach.
So does the word potato have a letter E in it after all? The word potato does have an E.
Let me get you guys the faces, wait, please. 3, 2, 1.
Now we can have one with the board president and myself for the record. Don't need it. Sure, bring all the board.
you need to move out of the way.
No, just kidding. Let him take it first.
I think I've got everybody right there. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. One more. Perfect. Thank you.
Wait, one more.
I'm glad the newspaper guy was
For
there.
the yearbook.
1, 2. Thanks.
Good job, sir. Now, in closing, we know that mom does a lot of stuff and grandma does a lot of stuff, you know, but they kind of brought them to this world, so they need to. But the coaches do a lot, and we know how they're compensated. So we just thank you and the rest of the coaches for everything that you do. Excellent job.
Thank you so much, everybody.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. Today was our last holiday day.
Oh, was it?
After our high school student. The last Thursday of the month. Did you get it? Yeah.
Okay, you have to get it back on camera. That's it, okay.
That's certainly impressive. Congratulations again, state champion. Six. We'll just kind of work down the agenda, make sure everybody's following correctly. 7, there are no items. 8, there are no items. 9, no items. Of course, under consent agenda, there are no items. And on the next page, agenda item 11, citizens to be heard. Citizens wishing to address the board will be heard at this time. And we do have someone, Ms. Falcon handed this to me a little while ago. Audience participation sign-up sheet. I have 2 names, Wolfgang von Asp and Mari Carmen del Toro. Topic is robotics team support. So if they are here, are they here?
So they're coming in that way.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
And who is Mr. Von Asp and Mrs.
Back here.
Del Toro? Okay. All right, before I turn the floor over to you by procedure, let me remind the board about public comments. The Board of Trustees encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so at this time. The Board of Trustees asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Please remember that the Board of Trustees may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the Board of Trustees will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. Complaints by students or their parents may be heard in accordance with policies FNG Legal and FNG Local. For employees, complaints are heard in accordance with policies DGBA Legal and DGBA Local. Citizen complaints are heard in accordance with policy GF Local. All should follow the chain of command, and if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the Board of Trustees as a properly posted agenda item. So, that said, Mr. Von Asp and Ms. Del Toro, the floor is yours.
Hey, I want to say thank you very much for allowing us to speak here. I represent, I'm the interim president of the Booster Club for the robotics team here at the high school. I know that I've got about 5 minutes to speak for the group, and that's okay. This is kind of an ad hoc meeting for us. We were supposed to have our Booster Club meeting this evening earlier, but in light of Mr. Billadou's resignation from the team as the lead mentor and coach, we're going to ask you for some support in helping us resolve this issue. What I'm going to do real briefly is talk about the history of the program, and Mari Carmen Del Toro is going to as a junior and the president of the team, she's going to kind of explain a couple of the accomplishments that the team has achieved over the last 3 years, and then I'm going to kind of ask you what exactly we're looking for as a group. Okay, so.
Okay, well, this program puts together what is mathematics, science, and technology in one package. Not many programs in the high school do so. You encourage, you inspire, you make a student make a commitment, not only with a student, but with their life, to do something, to make out of something of themselves. And that's where technology, that's where science, that's mathematics, that's what we're trying to do. But we need commitment, we need time, we need your support. We need a partnership built with you, with us, coaches, and students as well. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for that. We're one of the 400 teams across the world. There are 5,000 teams that actually have the privilege to attend the World Championships, which we have achieved the past 2 years. We need your support. We need that mentorship. We need that expertise that you, more likely, will be able to provide us with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Billadou, again, he's one of the science teachers, robotics teachers at the school. You're very familiar with the program. Hopefully you're all familiar with the program. We try to do a very good job within the community advertising it. Our numbers have grown. 2012, 17 kids, 30 kids last year, and then 37 this year. 13 young ladies and 24 young men. All 4 grades represented. 100% the seniors are college-bound. 86% in the STEM programs. Again, 2 coaches, Mr. Billadou and Mr. Davis. 16 mentors from the community, to include the base and out in commerce. Some of the parents, they involve a lot of their time with what we're doing. The program is a 6-week build program followed by 6 to 8 weeks of competition after the fact. And again, Mari Carmen alluded that we made it to the World Championship the last 2 years, which is a significant achievement considering that the program is truly in its infancy. So, like I said, we were going to have a Booster Club meeting tonight where we're going to move forward and plan for next season, bring in have elections for the next year's staff, set up some of the programs that we've done last summer with regard to youth camps for the kids, for the local kids within the community. But right now, with the situation where we're at, we're kind of like a ship without a rudder. And I believe that there's things that the school board can do to help the situation out. Other programs throughout the country have elevated the position from just a teaching position to more of that of similar to an athletics coach, where the individual is compensated a little bit more. But the most important thing is the fact that they have time off throughout the day, and to be able to program and facilitate the team and to make the competitions able to work. The other part is other programs have elevated the position further to a robotics director. Now, the fact that STEM is so important within this community, and we're growing and we need to make it stronger, this is, again, just the very first stages of what could be something a lot better. So what I'm asking is to take into account the value of this program in providing school staff positions conducive to supporting our robotics team, to include a budget, to include an increased budget. Like I said, we've grown, and with that growth, it's going to cost more money. It's going to take more resources, and that's what we're truly asking for, is again to provide staff positions that can help this team go forward. Can I answer any questions?
By procedure, there cannot be.
Okay, well then, maybe for the upcoming, I know that, again, we were gonna have our board meeting tonight, and I just found out that you all have in your budget board meeting, so this is, I thought of a very opportunistic time to come in and speak to y'all, and potentially put it on your next week's agenda, or the next time you have your agenda.
Thank you for the clarification, and that is certainly an option. The board may very well put it on a future agenda, so thanks for the clarification of what you're asking for.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Which way do you want us to go out? And we're not a mob, we're just, trying to show support here.
They were very well behaved. Usually we have adults out there that aren't as quiet and attentive as our
These are good
students.
kids, and we're trying to take care of them.
Great kids.
And they're tied to the school, and they're very proud of what they're doing. We're proud of them, so anything that you can do to help us out is of tremendous value. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, parents.
So Billy resigned? Wow. Whoa.
Well, I'm sure that's something that the board will want further information on. It's just, I know a lot of people just don't understand, but by procedure, we can't discuss it. Okay.
Then we'll have to revisit the 3-minute time limit.
Yeah.
'Cause last time also when the young man talking about cell phone. Well,
Okay, that brings us to agenda item 12, administration, proposed board of trustees, 2014-15 calendar for the evaluation of the superintendent. That, we looked at that a couple weeks ago. I said I would put it back on so you could have more time to look at it. It wasn't, yeah, it's in the packet. Paper. It's just before the HR stuff. So it was, you not see it? Right here. It's at the end of the agenda. It should be the very next page.
yeah, the timeline.
Yeah.
I didn't bring my original agenda that I had at home. And it doesn't have.
Oh, maybe it wasn't in the one on the, okay. So on this, there were a couple of minor revisions. I know there had been a question about some dates or some process, and again, this is kind of a sequential, month by month at a glance, right, where we are, kind of staying focused. The first thing that you should notice, we did kind of make some progress in the required Tier 2 training that's going to happen next month. I think originally we were thinking maybe in May. Most of the other items are on there. Also included, that there would be that review of student achievement data. I know Mr. Mesa had mentioned that for the summer, so that comes in as well. Other than that, I didn't get any other feedback. If anybody wants to. Mr. Chivita?
I think that we're meeting one too many times.
Okay.
It's, we have August, we have December, we have March, and then June again on this evaluation. And to me, it's great, the continuously improvement type of thing. In August, for example, we have our first formative, we review the achievement data, which from the year before, and then December, the second formative, and that's requesting a lot of reports from, so that's going to be a kind of a whole burden on the, not only on the superintendent, supported staff, there's gonna be writing reports, et cetera, reviews. And then come March, which will be, the, third, formative, but that one's not gonna be just a state and kind of a fast report type of thing that tell us how we're doing, how we spend our money, and like the charts that all of us are familiar with. And then, of course, June. So, which to me is kind of, it's a lot of data-driven type of thing. And again, it's gonna overburden our staff, our superintendent with a lot of reports. And the way I see things, and I think our superintendent brought it at one time, and not in talking about evaluations or anything like that, but he was talking about programs and very specific athletic programs. And I'm sure that discussed it with all of us that, you know, like, for example, as a freshman, you should have so many athletes and sophomores, et cetera, so you can have a continuous support. Well, that's the way I kind of see this, our calendar of evaluation. It should be not a yearly type of thing or model that changes completely. I think it ought to be like, you know, driven from a goal, driven performance type of thing, which would be a long range, if I may say so, such as, you know, and I went ahead and wrote it down, such as preschool initiatives. How we, I think our evaluation would be based on that, how we doing to start our kids, because as seniors, it's not a whole lot we can do for them next year. If we want to improve our program, that's the reason where the superintendent's evaluation is to improve our educational process. And that's how we're going to be able to do better as far as our school is concerned. And it's what we do as far as preschool activities, initiatives rather. We can increase services, we can start seeing that we have some collaboration between kinder and first grade in all the schools, so we can see some process as to what's happening, what do you do from here. To be honest with you, I don't really know what happens after they go through Cardinal, and then they, you know, a couple of years they go, and then they go on to it. So, and I think it's very informative. I think the superintendent should be looking into it, and I think this is where we should be really, and pardon me for saying it, seeing that that we spend our money wisely, and well, it's federal money, and that we do the very most we can do for our students. And then I think the other one that should be utilization of finance resources where instructional programs can be worked on, and then just to see what is going to be done tomorrow, but what is going to be done year to year, and the program will be established, whether it be a math or whether it be science or history or whatever the case would be. We need those programs, and we need to make sure that they're financed. And then I make sure that construction and personnel, pay increase for our teachers, initiatives, et cetera. I think those are the things that we should be looking into it, and not data-driven type of thing. Testing. And then the other thing that I like to see as far as our evaluation concerned is the enforcement on current policies. As you well know, and a lot of you got calls, teachers being dissatisfied, programs and whatnot, and I think, and a lot of it could be because of campus management. Maybe they weren't doing what they should do, and I think we should really stress the fact that, hey, listen, we want our principals to know exactly what it is that we want from the board, and make sure that it's delivered in a way that it should be, and what is going to be down the line. And then, of course, we should look into the teacher retention, and I said it once, and I think at the evaluation meeting, if you still remember, that it's not when we retain school teachers, it's not just because of pay, or it's not because of programs, it's not because, it's got to do a whole lot with the city too. It's inclusive, a lot of variables on it, and we should work together and see what we can do to retain teachers. But we need to make sure that our leaders are doing that. And then, of course, the leadership training, I think our principals should, and I think that's what we need to start working on, evaluation is concerned. Of course, it's very important that we, and you saw it here, the increased attendance. But then, I think our principals are doing everything we can. I think our district is doing everything we can. I think we need to reach out to the parents and make sure that the kids, that it's a must for them to start thinking in terms of, hey, I want my kids to be in school. Not that it's going to swimming or a party or a dental appointment or whatever the case may be. As I was going over to meet with, this afternoon, I saw 3 kids with a mom walking alongside the railroad track, and they had towels. Guess where they were going? Swimming. And one of them was 2 of them were high school, and the other one was probably about middle school. I mean, what are they doing out of school? I think it's a must that we in some way reach out to our community and says, hey, listen, don't take them to the grocery store. Don't take them to buy a hamburger and that type of thing. And I think that we need to start working on it and making sure that we do that. And then decrease dropouts. I think Mr. Mesa have really been very adamant about this. Hey, the gap deal, how many people are we graduating, this type of thing. But there's nothing we can do at the high school level. We got to start at the preschool. So this is what I'm talking about. I think our evaluation will be based on goal-driven performance type of thing from our superintendent. And then a good thing that our superintendent is brought up, and this is college preparation. Prepare our students for life endeavors, such as early college readiness, or we graduating our kids to be able to be competitive. The dual credit, I think you brought it up maybe 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago at least that I know of, that we used to have a lot of dual credit, and all of a sudden instead of increasing it, we're decreasing it. And hopefully that we start saying, hey, listen, superintendent, make sure that we start doing and working towards so that our kids that cannot afford to go on to college or leave town, that type of thing, can get some college credit. So, so it's very important. Early college readiness, dual credit courses, and then the last one that I think is very important to us is that CTE certification and endorsements. I mean, I was talking to Mr. Ramos, and a couple of weeks ago when he took 6 students to be certified out of those 3, 6, 3 were certified. So now we got 3 electricians in town certified that can do some work. So I think that's what we ought to be doing. And instead of meeting too many times on this evaluation, August, December, March, graduate, and that was one, and I think I talked to our president on this, that we should sit on something and not, keep on changing and that type of thing. What I meant was that let's go ahead and tell our superintendents what we need, and then not, and be real specific as to what it is that we want him to do. And I think if we do that, I don't think we need to start meeting a whole lot and start worried about after the fact type of thing on some of the reports based on data.
Mr. Mesa?
No, we're talking about the calendar, evaluation calendar, and
Yes,
I
I'm
agree.
talking about the numbers.
I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Chavita as far as we have too many formative, and I think as far as taking away from the daily chores of the superintendent, I think the benefits don't. I don't think it's going to be a disadvantage for our superintendent to be tied down to 3 formative and then 1 summative. I think we can do one that includes a report from every area, including academics and programs evaluations and so forth. I agree with Mr. Chavita that we're having too many meetings on the evaluation, and I think that the time taken away from our superintendent is not going to prove beneficial, but I think it'll take him from, again, focusing on the true important things that the district is facing. I like the idea of like the fast report being brought to us, but I think we need a more in-depth meeting, even prior to the budget workshops, so that we know the areas that we lack, that perhaps we're spending too much money on, and the results are not there. But I also, have to recognize like academics, we don't get those results until October sometime, and so I don't see the need for formative before we even get our final scores. And there's a lot of things that have to be cleaned up. I mean, we have preliminary, but I haven't seen anything from bilingual. I haven't seen. Of course, they're not ready yet because some of these students will be retaking the test again, and some of them that don't actually, we're not here as the as of date will have to be taken out from that group, and we don't have the final results. But I think that's more important than anything to have those when we do the summative. And so again, I see the need for a calendar. I think it's good, but I think we're taking too much time that is valuable for our superintendent.
So what if we delete the August, which would have been the first? Watch, scratch out under August 2014, scratch out first formative evaluation. And then starting in June, right, is our Tier 2 workshop, kind of a reaffirmation of the district's goals. July is really nothing more than just kind of distribution of performance goals information for the board's reiteration. And then into August, there's certainly some activity between the board and the superintendent looking at finalized data, right, sometime in August and into September. But there's no formative, we scratch that off. Getting back to like what Mr. Chavita was saying, goal-based management, right, goal-based evaluation in September, that's when he shows us his finalized performance goals. There needs to be kind of a check of the instrument, because once the board says, yes, Dr. Rios, those are the goals, that seem like what need to be focused on, they get incorporated into the actual instrument in October. November, any questions about policy or like what Mr. Mesa is saying, reports, moving forward. And so December, instead of being second, that would be first evaluation, which puts it about 5 months in, 4 to 5 months in. And then starting the following year in January is where there's some kind of discussion about reports related to the summative 5 or 6 months out, and when those would be delivered, whether they're in a formal way or in a board update. In February, and some kind of look at that FAST report to where it becomes incorporated into continuous improvement ideas. March, for the last 2 years, has been when the TASB survey is conducted, and I think administration thinks March is the best time, right? Not any earlier, certainly. March, probably late March, I think, is when we did it, Dr. Patty, right? It was at the end of March. So on the calendar, that would be sent out. Do we want to, on there it says a formative evaluation, it can be scratched or it could be the second instead of the third. I mean, by the commissioner's rule, you must have one formative. I do think probably 2 formatives is beneficial based on what the board's saying to keep kind of the dialogue going. So that could be adjusted easily enough. Then after that, it continues to be procedure. So like on April, for example, see where it says third formative, that's second, which is, sounds like it, doesn't it? And so mid-spring, right, the board agrees on a date for the summative. About a month prior, blank evaluation forms, contract table is distributed. And then in June, by the end, you do the summative. So we could keep the calendar as a guideline.
Or we have more information now. Yeah, because at first it was like, the meetings didn't justify the end. It's too much of a fast track.
So on August, we could strike first formative evaluation, right? Strike that. And it stays the same June, July, August with that struck. September is where we get the goal-based stuff, that stays. October, again, these are sequential procedural steps, not really information. November, and then on December, instead of second, that would be first formative evaluation, which fits about a 5-month cycle. January stays the same, February stays the same. And then on March, the TASB employee opinion survey conducted, period. And then we can scratch off that comment about a third formative evaluation, that would be struck. And then in April, which is about 3 or so months prior, would be the second formative evaluation, and setting the date for the summative. The rest of it is procedural. How about that? Creates dialogue, but not too much dialogue, too much reporting.
When do we get our FAST report, let's say for the next year?
It should be printed by January.
January?
But, the state comptroller's office puts that out, and it's not like they advertise it. You have to go look for it. So this time I think we came across it, maybe late February, and I had meetings with y'all individually.
It was late February.
But they should put it out as early as January.
See, I think, right now, there's so many different tools that are being made available to us. That FAST report, I think we should look at it carefully and then, focus on some things that will prove beneficial for us to do something about.
It should be incorporated. I think, certainly it becomes part of the process, kind of like the survey does, right? The survey becomes a regular way of informing the process.
And then, we have other things like, for example, another report that just came out, children at risk, that they rank the different schools and elementary, middle school, high school. And they pretty much give it a letter grade, but it's based on scores from the prior year.
I think, all these reports are important, but, I think they're important in terms of goal setting, not necessarily in terms of the evaluation of the superintendent.
Right.
Because the FAST report, for example, is based on a 3-year average, like I shared with y'all. So the fact that we're rated where we're rated, that's a 3-year average. So we need to understand why we got that rating, and then help us shape our goals.
Exactly.
But not the evaluation, because
No,
most of the staff here had nothing to do with that, and certainly not myself.
I think the reason, like, for example, the state controller puts out that FAST report is here, you deal with it the way you want to, but I think it's to our benefit to really look at it and say, hey, let's try to.
And look at when it comes out. I'm sorry. Look at when it comes out, Mr. Mesa. I think the intention early in the year is to fit in that planning cycle, right? At the beginning of the budget process, and the budget process defining the plan of action. So I think clearly that's why it comes out at that time.
I think we have plenty of time, and I like the idea. If you incorporate it into your goals, I think that would be sufficient for, all of us.
And actually, if I may, that ties in very nicely to what Mr. Chavita just said. You use the FAST report, it helps you identify the areas that we need improvement.
Trends.
Right, and trends as well over time. that's when we should come in and say, okay, these are the goals, how are we gonna find the money to fund that? So, that ties in perfectly, but you're right, it's not necessarily tied to
The district at
the
that time,
superintendent's
at that time.
evaluation. Going back to what Mr. Chavita said, what we need to tie to the superintendent's evaluation are the goals that we set for him. So really, we need to drive the train and then hold the superintendent, accountable for meeting those goals.
I agree with everything. The only thing that I think that we should have more discussion on to get ready for the evaluation is on really understanding what that continuous improvement process looks like. I'll give you an example. This Friday, I will send y'all the scores that came out for secondary. And you will see some trends of growth. But very respectfully to all the teachers that worked hard to make those gains possible in the programs that we had in place, it really needs to go a lot deeper. I'll give you an example. You're going to see an increase in our writing scores, which is really our English 1 scores. You're going to see significant increases. The problem is you're not going to see significant increases where students scored at the advanced level, at advanced level 3 or at panel recommendation for level 2. You're going to see where we did better than last year, but we didn't really go deep enough in having more kids score at the commended level. What you all are familiar with at the commended level. The reason you're not going to see that is because to have that kind of growth, you need programmatic growth. And that takes years of building from the very beginning. So just like I'm being open with y'all, say, we did some things to get better, but we're nowhere near there we're nowhere near where we want to arrive. Like I told the principals, we're where we need to be, but we're not where we want to be. So just like I'm willing to and able to recognize that we have more room to grow, but it has to be program development, I just ask that we understand the same concept where the scores aren't where we see growth, because you're gonna see some growth in some areas, and then you're gonna see some that aren't. But for me, in terms of my evaluation, that's what's valuable, where we understand that it is a continuous process, and a continuous process means a time over a few years. I don't want to get patted on the back where we saw the growth already this year, but I also want some understanding in where the programs need to develop over time. And for me, that's a real conversation, because if it's about data, I can present the data where me and my staff look really good. But that's certainly not, I think, what's going to lead the district as a whole to the next level. So I would just ask that when we do our team of 8 training, the next one, that we have conversations about what that means.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and maybe what we ought to do is just table this, because I think that we should, really, deal in terms of long-range type thing, like you were saying, so that year after year we'll be predicted, and we know exactly what this program is leading us to. And if we wait, maybe where which we're talking about, where you get an F for, I know exactly what you're talking about, I don't remember exactly what report and when it comes out, so we can tie everything to it. And, because I don't think we should be in that much of a hurry anyway. I mean, this year, I remember 4 years ago, our superintendent wasn't even evaluated for the past 1 or 2 years prior to that. And I'm not saying that it's good either. All I'm saying that it's done. So we can, I'm not saying let's go ahead and wait and not have an evaluation, but I think we should move and get one where it'll be good, so that everything will be kind of goal-driven, performance type of thing, long-range type of evaluation. So I don't know.
Well, the purpose of the calendar is to set a map, and it's etched in stone as pleases the board. If, for example, if the board feels, well, let's wait, we said we were going to do the formative, for example, in December, well, let's wait till January to do it. Or do we want this report? No, we don't really want that report. That's at the board's discretion. But to have a calendar, the idea of it is to know where you are and where you're going. So that's why I think if we strike those things, like strike the first formative in August, change the one in December to the first formative, take out the third in March, all of those revisions, that it fits. It's pretty much the same calendar as we used the first year.
We're taking out the third in April.
Yeah, we take out the,
So we'll have
yeah,
two
let me, yeah,
in December.
right. Because some of the thinking was, more dialogue, and more dialogue means another formative. But certainly doesn't have to be 3 or 4. So, without dragging our feet, let's look at it one more time. In June, it's procedure, right? Our team of 8, goal setting. July is just merely distribution of information for, some things the board might want to look at about the continuous improvement model or evaluations generally. Certainly by the end of the summer, a review of student data, the finalized data, that's something the board and the superintendent will do. By September, programmatic emphasis priorities is where he comes back with performance goals for that year. We make sure in October that the instrument is what we want it to be, right? You need to know what the instrument is long before the actual evaluation. In November, just an update again that, what is our policy? What type of reports might we want? That would read for the first formative, not the second. And the first formative would be in December, which is about 5 months in to the process. And then January, more discussion about, types of reports that might be necessary or not. The FAST report, to be looked at again in February. In March, the survey is conducted, and we strike that mention of a third formative. And in April, if the board is committed to 2 summatives for discussion purposes, then in April, instead of saying the third formative, it would be the second formative. And coming out of that, setting a date for the summative. May is also purely procedure, blank forms, contract and table distributed. And then in June, summative. So that takes out, at least on my copy, takes out first formative in August, that's gone. Takes out a second formative because the second now becomes the first in December. Takes out a third formative entirely, and then there is a follow-up second formative about 3 or 4 months prior to the summative, which creates more dialogue and less burden, but still provides you with a roadmap and a way to create an ongoing process, because the whole process is a process, not an event.
When is the summative, sir?
The summative would be in June, because that's the end of the cycle. You don't have a copy?
Oh, I love mine. I've been cheating with it. That's okay.
There you go. Thank you,
Should
Mr.
write
Copy.
it down. No, that's good. I guess from my perspective, I think Dr. Rios has been really, really good in communicating with the board on a consistent basis, keeping us up to date, keeping us informed. It's almost as if, in my opinion, this might, while I think it gives us the structure and it keeps us on task, which I do appreciate that, it's almost as if it's too formalized, because the communication and the conversation is happening anyway. The dialogue is happening. So I for one, I'd be happy with staying with the one official formative, but keeping the communication and dialogue going.
So keep the
Instead of formalizing it.
keep the formative in December?
And, I mean, we can always say, hey, you know what, we gotta rein him in, or we have some concerns. I
Well,
mean,
they can.
but we can always keep the dialogue going. I mean, isn't that kind of,
That's pretty much what I like to see,
And-
just,
I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to do, which is to keep us on task, and that's what I really admire and
Your
respect.
calendar.
But what I've heard from those of us that have spoken is
So you,
It's happening anyway, but
so you
maybe
wanna,
include
you
us.
wanna leave it to one formative in December?
That's fine. Yeah.
Alright.
I think, if we need to request something, I think we
Yes.
can always do it.
Give us, would you give us an update on, or give us a nice report on past, or would you give us a nice report on, the survey?
Okay,
And I
Which
hope
you've
I've done
done
that.
anyway.
okay.
That's the way I see it. I could, that's just-
One more time. So June stays as it is, right? July stays as it is. August stays as it is, striking first formative evaluation of the superintendent. That's gone. September stays as it is. October stays as it is. November stays as it is, but it ends with board review superintendent evaluation policy, period. Striking indicated superintendent request reports for formative evaluation. So that's gone. December is the formative evaluation, right? So that stays, not second, but formative evaluation. January stays as it is. February stays as it is. March simply reads TASB employee opinion survey conducted, period. Striking all the rest. February, we strike where it says third formative evaluation of the superintendent. The rest stays. Board sets date for summative. May stays the same. June stays the same.
The, March reads the TASB employee opinion survey conducted.
Right.
If you would like to include, okay, what were those results somewhere here?
Oh, okay.
Because I think that's important for the board to hear.
Would we
But
get,
it doesn't have to be in a formative approach, just.
right. Well, we don't get,
Let us
do we
know.
get the results by March?
Sorry.
No.
We get April.
We get them by April. Well, if it's most likely conducted in March, right, then we could include in April results of the survey distributed. When-
Guys available or whatever, man. Which I know you did anyway, but you wanna keep it formally informal.
So will that work? Everybody live with that? It's fine with me. I'm just glad to have a calendar.
I'd like to add,
Yes, me too.
this is kind of putting myself out there, but when the board president and I discussed the last summit evaluation leading up to it, I specifically asked him not to put, taking action on the superintendent's contract on it, because it was my first year, and I didn't want to be placed in a position, where I would, I guess, bring the board to task to say we're either gonna, have a long-range relationship or we're not, because I really wanted the time, to continue to share with y'all the vision that I have for the district, the type of leadership that we've tried to engender, and I wanna make sure that y'all are comfortable. But I would like it to be formalized that at the end of this year, at the end of this contract year, we're gonna take action on the superintendent's contract or we're not, and then we can just, I think that 2 years will be enough for me to either one-year trust, and the belief or not. And even though I have a 3-year contract, my goal is that at the end of this year, we're either gonna, move forward for numerous years or we're not, and then I'll know where I stand. So I think that for me, at least, it is important that come the summit evaluation at the end of June, that we officially write, we're taking action on the superintendent's contract. And that way we know where we're headed. I have enough confidence in what we're doing. I think that people will start to see the vision. And I think that'll be the appropriate time to make a decision.
So make sure that it be included.
Legally, it would have to be, because you can't go past a certain number of months on your contract without
Addressing. So adding it to June 2015.
evaluation. It could read like call meeting, special meeting, conduct and adopt some evaluation of the superintendent and consideration of contract, something like that. Something to that effect. I mean, I can fix the wording, but it would read like that, that's the end of the cycle.
Decision time.
And it'll work procedurally because the month prior, right, not only do you get evaluation forms, but you also get a copy of the contract and a table comparing other superintendents' salary and benefits, purpose of which is for possible action on contract.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, before we conclude on
reasons that June, right, is the beginning of the cycle, the Tier 2 training, Board of Trustees, and even though it's hopefully will be mainly assessing our effectiveness, right, and procedures, that sort of thing, you also come out of it with a reaffirmation of the district's goals, because from that, he formalizes his performance goals, right, which become a part of the evaluation instrument adopted 2 or 3 months later. So there's actually kind of a time connection to it, that those have to be not changed. Myself personally, I don't think it would be changed, but just kind of a review and a reaffirmation. That way he can move forward with programmatic priorities, right, his own performance goals. So that gets set in place over the summer. Okay, well, I marked it up. I trust my editing. All right, so that's my recommendation, that we approve the the superintendent's Board of Trustees calendar for, no. So my recommendation is that we approve the Board of Trustees calendar for the 2014-2015 superintendent evaluation with the edits as we've discussed and I've made a mark of. So, that being said, is there a motion? Ms. Lozano has motion. Mr. Mesa has second. All in favor? By show of hands. Unanimous. Motion carries. Very good. So now for 2 years running, you have a calendar. Minor victories.
No, it's a major victory.
Well, that way we don't get lost in the shuffle.
Gotta go see the Spurs.
In other words, the
we're still live.
the discussion quieted down. Yeah, the calendar's great. Strike
You have
those.
closed sessions.
Yes. Okay, so now that we're past agenda item 12, there's nothing on 13, nothing on 14, nothing on agenda item 15, nothing on agenda item 16, nothing on agenda item 17, so that brings us to agenda item 18, closed session. It is now 7:56 p.m., May 29th, 2014, and the Board of Trustees will recess this open session and convene a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. Specifically, we were able to do that under sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084, and specifically tonight pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or hear complaints against personnel. 1, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, and 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include the following justification: service credit, pay grade change, master's degree. 3, discussion of approval of construction manager. And 4, discussion of approval of assessment and accountability director. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. We're now in closed session. It's now 8:31 p.m., May 29th, 2014. The Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. So now that we are reconvened to open session, we're on agenda item 19. A being consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Dr. Patty?
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. The administration recommends the following new hires for your consideration this evening: Ms. Kelly Jones, music teacher, Lamar Elementary School; Mr. Mark Vigato, 5th grade teacher, Garfield Elementary; Ms. Diana Ike, 2nd grade teacher, Buena Vista Elementary; Ms. Amanda Pettis, kindergarten teacher, Lonnie Green Elementary School; Ms. Melissa Bean, 2nd grade teacher, Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary; Mr. Jeffrey Flores, 4th grade teacher, Calderon Elementary School; Janice Qualls, science teacher, San Felipe Memorial Middle; Jesus Herrera, math teacher at the Del Rio High School, the ACAP program.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt has motion. Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands. It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item 19B, consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the following justification: service credit, pay grade change, master's degree. Dr. Petty?
Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. The administration respectfully requests approval for a degree change for Mr. Stephen Thomas. He was awarded master's degree on May 10th, 2014, as well as service credit for 1 year of service for Sandra Davidson, ELA teacher at Del Rio High School.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Motion to accept. Ms. Lozano has motioned. Is there a second? Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Brings us to agenda item 19C, consideration of construction manager. Dr. Rios, you have,
We're gonna table that one more meeting, sir.
Okay.
At the next meeting, we'll either take action on it, be ready to take action or not include it on there.
okay, so the recommendation is to table until the next regular board meeting. This recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt has motion, Ms. Haynes has second. All in favor by show of hands. Unanimous, motion carries. That brings us to agenda item 19D, consideration to approve assessment accountability director. Dr. Patty, you're listed.
Okay.
for-
Or Dr. Rios, do you?
Oh, he's done.
All right, yes, sir. Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. The administration proudly recommends Ms. Michelle Smith as our Assessment Accountability Director for our school district.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt has motion, Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. All opposed? 1 opposed.
And, you know, let me explain the reason again. Because of the FAST report, again, another director, that's all.
Okay, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries. Agenda item 20, there are no items. Agenda item 21, adjournment. Being no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Lozano has motion. Mr. Overfelt is second. All in favor, by a show of hands. Dr. Keyes, are you voting in favor of adjournment? Okay, unanimous. Motion carries. I'm quite sure he might want to continue.